Loki is a pretty good show. It's neatly done, and I'm a big fan of when Marvel does weird fucking alien things. And there's a lot to talk about in this one in particular. Keep in mind that even if I end up being critical of it at times, I'm overall pretty pleased with the show. It's mostly just the time travel stuff that I have an issue with, I guess, and I don't think it ruins the show. I think Loki deals with time travel a lot better than most fiction. The only reason it's so confusing is because of Endgame, and I'll explain why in a bit. Time travel never makes sense in fiction. The only way I can think of it working is that each instance of time travel causes a new branched reality to be created. So someone travels back in time creating a new timeline where they arrive. When they return to the future, they create another timeline as well. And it doesn't matter if they interact with people or not. Traveling time on its own should be enough in my opinion. Because stopping fucking World War One isn't objectively a bigger change than just moving around atoms and molecules, if we're looking at it in the grand scale of the universe. Every other way that movies do it is chaotic in the long run. Of course, it doesn't really matter in stuff like Bill and Ted, because those are just silly and it doesn't matter. But it's really important in Loki. The MCU follows the branched reality rules for the most part. No fucking causality loops. And the timeline up to Infinity War was pretty intact, of course. The fun begins when we get to Endgame. So the first branch was in 2012, the second branch in 2013, the third in 2014, and the fourth in 1970. The Avengers caused like a whole bunch of fucking branched realities. Tilda Swinton herself acknowledged that the timeline in which Banner met her would still exist even after he returned to his future, or his present, or whatever.
If you travel to the past, that past becomes your future, and your former present becomes the past, which can't now be changed by your new future.
Exactly.
They even have to return the Infinity Stones from each timeline they took them from in the end. Wait. Does it imply that the timeline cease existing once the stones are returned? It would actually make more sense if returning the fucking things caused more branches. Another confusing thing was that if Captain America went to a different timeline to be with Peggy, how did he appear old in the timeline he left from? It would have made more sense if he showed up in the same platform but old or something, right? Because that way he's time traveling back to this timeline through the Ant-Man method. If that wasn't confusing enough, now we're talking about how there's supposed to be only one timeline, the sacred timeline as they call it. Yet they say that the Avengers time traveling was supposed to happen.
We're not here to talk about the Avengers.
Oh no?
No. What they did was supposed to happen. You escaping was not.
If your whole goal is to make sure that there's only one timeline, why was something like that supposed to happen? Did they have to set aside a ton of TVA agents just to prune each and every one of those timelines? Oh, pruning is the word for erasing a branch timeline in the TVA, I guess. Which is actually kind of funny. Wait, if they pruned all of those timelines, would that mean that none of this stuff happened? Because you can't remove those timelines and also say that the Avengers won, right? Because if those timelines didn't exist, what happened in them didn't happen, and the Avengers didn't get the Infinity Stones. Are you with me so far? Anyway, if the Avengers going to the past was supposed to happen, why was Loki escaping not supposed to happen? Is there an alternate timeline where the Avengers do the same thing but without Loki escaping? That would mean there are even more timelines. So when they reset that timeline in the beginning of the show, did that erase the branch that the Avengers created? Or was a new branch created when Loki escaped? Does what happened in that timeline get reset and start differently from scratch? Or does it only reset the part after Loki escapes? If Loki doesn't escape, does the plan to get the Tesseract succeed the first time? Then they won't need to travel further back, right? If so, what was the event that caused shit to happen differently leading to Loki's escape? Don't tell me it was Loki escaping that caused the branch in the timeline. That makes absolutely no sense, just like the rest of it. This is my best understanding of what the MCU timeline is for now. So there's all this stuff happening, and at least this many timelines. So either the TVA pruned all of these fucking things just to make the Avengers look like heroes,
all so that others can achieve their best versions of themselves.
which we later realize wasn't really a motivation for this guy. He tells Loki and Sylvie they can do whatever they want as long as the sacred timeline is preserved. So why go through all this trouble? Just stop Thanos from finding the fucking Infinity Stones or some shit. Make your life a lot easier. Oh, and what did Doctor Strange mean when he was talking about the alternate timelines? He was definitely using the fucking time stone. So those were actual timelines that existed and not just some kind of predicting ability. Right? Hey look, time travel's a bitch. and it rarely ever makes sense in fiction. This doesn't mean that I'm not willing to ignore the lack of logic so I can be entertained. I did just say the show was good after all. And Endgame was a pretty good movie too. It's just that it's really fun to point this stuff out. And if you don't want people to be confused while watching the movie, all you need to do is keep it relatively simple. Endgame was actually fine until Captain America appeared on the bench. Everything else made enough sense. Because back then there was no need for there to be only one timeline, as far as we knew. The other timelines the Avengers created can go fuck themselves. For all I care. Like Thor even took away the fucking hammer. And I was fine assuming Captain America could return all those stones and the hammer back to their respective timelines without branching off. Until he showed up on that fucking bench. Okay, now that I'm done with the fucking timelines, I'm gonna review the fucking show. I can't guarantee I won't talk about timelines during the show because the show is about time travel. So here we go. It was a pleasant surprise when they opened the show the way they did. It gets you right into it and you're already curious as to what this is all about. Confusing, but it starts to make sense as more and more information is revealed. It's more interesting that way. At first I thought it was silly that Loki became nice so soon into the show, but realized that the way it happened in Thor Ragnarok was pretty similar too. He sort of just re-evaluated what was important to him, I guess. The overall style of the show is fantastic too. I really love the choice to use 2D animation in the beginning for exposition. You know, I would love to see an entire movie made like that in this decade. I also really like the character Miss Minutes. Probably the cutest fucking thing in all of the MCU. I like the idea of Loki being DB Cooper, I guess. What's weird is the reason was that he lost a bet to Thor. So you're gonna pay him like what, fucking Earth money? Oh. And also the fucking DB Cooper stuff happened at night. You see, when you make silly jokes like this, you have to fucking commit. Or else there's no point. One of the more interesting things were the timekeepers. I was curious about who they are and what they really want, and whether all of this would lead to the Avengers. They, or I should say he, does control literally everything after all. Besides, I initially kinda liked how they look. It's kinda comic bookish and interesting. So to tell the truth, I was actually kinda disappointed by what it turned out to be. This is someone who controls literally everything in the entire universe. He built this fucking place where infinity stones don't work, and all it takes is a fucking stab in the heart. But in hindsight, I kinda like the idea of the villain doing what he does for rational reasons. It makes the conflict so much more interesting than if the antagonists were just a bunch of arrogant assholes who thought they were awesome. So I'm pretty excited now to see what they do with this guy. It could be good. This character stuff. Who knows? The one who remains is a huge addition to the series. He makes you look at the rest of the series in a very different way. It takes away a whole lot of weight from the achievements of the Avengers since it was all controlled by someone else for a long time. And I hope this was something that they were aware of when they wrote it. It's definitely leading to something huge and there's no way they're going to conclude the Timekeeper story within the Loki series. Other characters are definitely going to be involved soon. And I'm curious to see what the conclusion will even be. I felt like the mystery element of who the variant Loki wasn't as compelling. Since it's alternate realities, it could be literally any Loki. Besides, it doesn't make a difference who it is anyway. The type of Loki it is ended up not mattering at all. Episode 2. Episode 2 may not feel as important in terms of the events that take place, but there were some concepts that were pretty important. And it was all just them sitting and talking, of course. Most importantly, the idea that the end of time is still a work in progress. I'm actually really curious about how far into the timeline they are and how much more time there is until the end of time. And if they somehow defeat this fucking guy, does that mean that time will not end? In the last episode, we see the end of time, I guess. And now I feel like the end of time may be something different in this series than what I was initially thinking. I just assumed that the timeline ends, and that in the MCU the end of time would be that all matter in the universe gets erased or some shit, and that the timeline would have a definite end. But in this, the end of time is somewhere they actually go to, like it's a place, and Mobius even says,
"And we meet in peace at the end of time."
Like, what the hell does that even mean? And also when they get to the end of the time, you see this loop. What the fuck is that? If that's actually supposed to represent the flow of time, it's difficult to understand how there can be a beginning and an end of time. It's also difficult to understand how the end of time can be a work in progress. It appearing to be a loop only implies that it's all already figured out and everything goes in only one way. And Kang already knows how it's gonna play out. So, how the fuck could it possibly branch out when it's in this state? When everything is so set, what could happen that he can't predict? Was it just propaganda? I feel like there are still so many questions after the first season, and I really hope they were left intentionally mysterious and not just forgotten. Episode 3. Okay, so this would be a good time to talk about the music. I like the use of the ticking sound in the beginning after he reached the purple planet. It's what Hans Zimmer did both in Interstellar and Dunkirk, and time was significant in both of those. The rest of the music is pretty good too. A lot of those Vikingy sounds were used along with other elements properly, and I don't know if that's anything like what real Vikings listen to, but you know what I mean. I would put this in my top 5 MCU scores. I know that isn't saying much because these things rarely have decent music. It's usually just generic crap. In fact, I think Thor Ragnarok is the only MCU movie with great music. Other than that, this is probably the most beautiful looking episode in this show. It's dark but also not ugly, which is pretty cool. This episode also had themes of class and bureaucracy, as does the rest of the show, now that I think about it, which is really fucking ironic coming from Disney. But the episode was still good. I like the song that Loki sings, I guess. I really like small moments like this in fiction. And it's not necessarily easy to pull off showing characters doing relatively mundane things in a show with such fantastical things everywhere. It proves that I'm kind of invested in these characters and not just the fantasy elements of the show. This is why the talking scenes in the show aren't boring, despite being so long. And as a result, I feel more familiar with these characters. Episode 4 was a good episode, but again, it makes the time travel stuff slightly more confusing. So we see Sylvie as a kid and they say that she was the variant, which is really fucking weird. So assuming the sacred timeline was the one where Loki died and the Avengers did the time heist, we have to say that Sylvie's timeline must have branched when she was conceived, right? Is that how frost giants work? I don't know. But the point is, it only makes sense if there was another variant previously in the timeline that made shit happen differently and made Loki into a girl, right? If so, she wouldn't be the variant, but just a product of the Nexus event, right? The Nexus event must have been pretty far behind in the timeline, changed enough for Loki to be born a different sex.
What was my Nexus event? Why did you bring me in?
What does it matter?
But since they're doing a relationship thing between Loki and Sylvie, it makes me think that the event goes even further back, so far back that she's genetically different enough for it to not be incest. But then I also realized that massive amounts of time may not matter in the TVA, since they just travel to whichever point in the branch that makes it the easiest for them to capture the variant.
How long have you been here? I don't know, it's hard to say. Time passes differently here in the TVA.
And they can just instantly travel to any point in time in any branch. Also, I was glad that these weren't the timekeepers because I had hyped them up quite a bit and now their voices and how they looked were so underwhelming. Something just felt off about how soon we were seeing them and how easy it was to get to them, so I was glad that they weren't the real villains. One genuine negative in the show was them fake killing Mobius. When he got pruned, I thought, this is it, and I was pretty surprised and started taking this shit pretty seriously. It puts you in a certain state of mind which is suitable for the second half of the season, but after that they do the same thing to Loki and instantly you're reassured that both of them are just fine. There's no way they're going to kill the main protagonist, not in Marvel. The only real character deaths were Black Widow and Iron Man. One of those people care about, and the other one is just a nothing character. Because both Gamora and Loki are now back, even if it's slightly different versions of them. Episode 5. This episode was a whole bunch of fun. I like the other types of Lokis. At first I was really confused about the crocodile Loki, because I thought that the Nexus event must have happened millions of years prior, so that the fucking Asgardians evolved as alligators. But then I realized it must have been that Loki turned himself into an alligator somehow, and that made a lot more sense timeline wise. This episode also has one of the best scenes of the show. Just the insane chaos when the Loki start fucking betraying each other is pretty entertaining. It's also interesting to look at Grandpa Loki and Kid Loki and think about potential ways that Loki's life could have gone. Anyway, I was kind of disappointed when the old Loki died. Because I expected he may be relevant again. I was curious about Miss Minutes this episode. She accidentally reveals to the TVA lady that it's a he.
But he thinks this'll be more useful.
Who?
Happy reading!
And the one who remains says this,
He who remains. She still calling me that?
as if it was something she chose to do. This is intriguing. I just hope they don't reveal that she was made from a variant too, because that would be boring at this point. I'd rather they left her a mystery than do that. But I kinda have some faith in them that they'll do something interesting. Another thing that didn't make sense was that he could predict everything. If he could predict everything, why did he offer the deal in the first place?
2 Lokis in the same place.
Both of us. Together on the timeline.
It's crazy. But he could make it work.
If he knew everything that was going to happen, did he think that they would accept the offer to take over the TVA? If the timelines didn't start branching off chaotically, would they have accepted the deal, and would it not have happened as differently? Or did he know they wouldn't accept the deal and just wanted to stall for time for some reason? All of these things are pretty confusing. And I have the feeling that it's going to be even more confusing the next season. I'm pretty anxious to hear the explanation for how Loki either accidentally went to a branched timeline or went to the new sacred timeline. So either way, I'm pretty excited for the next season of Loki and the rest of the Marvel franchise at this point. And yeah, Loki does do a pretty good job at that. I don't know why they made WandaVision and that other crap. They could have just started this streaming thing with Loki to begin with. My rating for Loki is